Hello and welcome to another knitting pod. My name is Lena and I am here in Boulder, Colorado, and I am just here to talk to you about fiber and knitting and all that good stuff. If you are new here, welcome. If you're returning, I'm glad you came back. Let's talk about knitting, okay? I'm not huge on big intros, so let's just jump right into it. As you can see, I do have a finished object today. This is the very talented and beloved Stephen West's MCAL from last year, 2022, called Twists and Turns. And yes, it is August 2023. And I just finished it, and I'm not ashamed of that, y'all. I am so proud of myself, to be quite honest. I don't ever feel proud of myself for knitting because it would be like being proud of myself for brushing my teeth. Like, it's just, that's how fundamental knitting is to my life. But finishing this particular project definitely does feel like a marathon or something equivalent. Not because I didn't love it. It's just, it's a lot. This one in particular just had a lot of techniques that were labor intensive, and I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I just want to knit on autopilot. I would say a lot of times I really like to knit on autopilot, and this piece, even in the parts that are repetitive, it's not particularly autopilot. So all that being said, I am thrilled to have it off the needles. And I have to say, it is absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna try to show you, it's quite long. I did not do the optional edition. So let me just take you on a little tour of the MCAL. I am sure you have seen this everywhere over the past 8 months, but I'm gonna just break it down really quick for you. We have this middle section of chevrons. That's where you started in clue 1. I think the coolest feature here was these I-cord strips that end up being pulled through each other to make loops. And to me, they look like giant knit stitches. And I just think that is so beyond creative, and it gives such a graphic dimensional look. Like if you look at it from the side, you can see that they are higher, they're raised up more than the rest of it. Then we moved on to these 2 side wings of stockinette plus twisted rib. No, not stockinette, I'm sorry. Garter, and then this cocoa colorway, this gold, greenish gold, is twisted rib. Then you had to mirror it on the other side. And I think that's one of the things that makes this guy a little bit more, you just have to have the endurance because each section is mirrored mostly, except for the center section. So you have to kind of, once you finish this section, you feel like, success, but you have to do the whole thing on the other side. And you have to pay attention because a lot of it will be, instead of knit 2 together, it'll be SSK, or it'll be in reverse. So you can't get too complacent. And I think that definitely makes it more mentally challenging. Then you've got these long wing sections of garter. No, actually, I think we did these strips first. Yes, we did that long bottom strip of like traveling cables. I made that up. I don't remember. It was a long time ago in a land far, far away that I worked on these bad boys. So you do that on both sides, and then you fill it in with these stripe sections. And then finally, we picked up stitches for this border of twisted rib again. Then you finally finish with an I-cord edge, this blue I-cord edge, and then you connected that last loose loop to close it up. And I tell you what, Stephen West always says, it's a wearable piece of art, and I just could not agree more. I don't think Stephen West is a knitwear designer. I believe he is an artist through and through. Like, if you had to come up with this mystery knit along every year and make it unique and different, and I just don't know how he does it. His brain is big. I would think anybody would agree with that, whether you're a huge fan or if you're crazy and not a huge fan. Anyway, so I have to say, I've said this many times before, I just don't think pictures can do pieces like this justice. So when I see pictures of this, I am not as blown away as I am when I'm seeing it in person. It's beyond stunning. And I think it's so different from the year before. And I love the colors I picked independently. I think they're absolutely beautiful. I picked them based on a kit he had created, Stephen West had created, except I bought it myself stateside because I didn't want to ship from Amsterdam. And I replaced, this was a La Bien-Aimée kit. So I don't remember what the color I used, this Hedgehog Fibers Daydream, this lavender. He had used kind of a grayish speckled yarn with like neon pops, if my memory serves. Anyway, this, as you guys know, is one of my absolute favorite colors. This lavender, it's Hedgehog Fibers Daydream, to me is just a spectacular neutral in any piece ever created to knit. I think it's like a color lover's neutral. There's just nothing this color won't go with. It'll go with grays and other brights like it is here, or anyway, I'm not gonna wax poetic about that, but what was I saying? Oh, my point was that I think, no, I know I don't have anything with this color combo. I'm not someone who's really drawn to blues, but I love this deep, stunning blue, and I'm so happy to have a hand knit with this blue starring as the main color, because I drape all my favorite shawls. So I'm sitting on my couch, my beloved place, my happy place, and then there's 4 big chairs on either side, not 4, 2 on either side, 4 total. And on the back of those chairs, I drape my favorite shawls. And then this space is our living room and dining and kitchen. And they are pieces of art. They bring me joy. They make me feel like Stephen West's spirit abides among us. And it makes me really happy. So having this color that I don't have any of in my living room, it's just joy. It's pure and utter joy. I love it so much. I encourage you to use your shawls as decoration in your house. And the other great thing is then when you're feeling chilly, you just grab one and wrap it around you. And that's what I do every single day. In the morning when I'm chillier, I grab any shawl, the one I feel like wearing, while I get a few morning stitches in before everybody wakes up. So anyway, I think it was an absolute journey. I'm thrilled to be done with it. He's just so genius. Like I think I chatted about this once before, but just the fact that every time one of these colors shows up, it shows up in the same stitch pattern. So all of this lavender is stockinette wherever it shows up. All of the dark blue is garter. It gives a cohesiveness to an otherwise very, I don't want to say chaotic or busy because they have maybe a negative connotation, but I mean chaotic and busy in the best way, like bursting like nature. I think that's what this gives the feeling of. It's beyond. I showed you guys this purple border that I forgot to talk about earlier. I don't even remember at what point in the process we added this cable section, but these antler cables are my absolute favorite. I did not choose to add the I-cord embellishments that he gives as an option because I felt like they would take away from just how beautiful that lavender looks and how stunning those cables are, because they're just beautiful. I'd never done cables before, and I love cables. I love them because they're very interesting and fun to make, but then once you make that twist, usually the next few rows are just following in the pattern. Like there's no more twisting for a minute. So it's like a nice pacing between an interesting technique and then a couple rows just in pattern. I don't know what's wrong with my throat today, y'all. Anyway, I love it. I have gotten a few messages from a few of you saying, you love Stephen West, and some of you were doing the mystery sock along that just wrapped up, but you felt intimidated to knit any of his shawls. And to you, I have to specifically say, please don't be intimidated, because sounds really counterintuitive, because as you can see, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of techniques. However, I'm not sure there's a better time to try a Stephen West shawl than during the MCAL, because very few projects that come out are going to come with a literal step-by-step video tutorial on YouTube for free with your girl's favorite knitwear designer. He is the best teacher in the world. I mean, I'm not even gonna say that without question. He shows it continental style, then he'll show it English throwing style. Because I think it is important to see the techniques that are more complicated done in the style that you knit in. It makes it a lot easier. But if you are hesitant, I say, please don't be. You'll have so much energy and support through the whole world's knitting community, because so many people do the MCAL, and it's so much fun to watch it unfold. There are very few people I would trust with such a big project, but I just know no matter what he does, the end result is amazing. It's just true. He is gifted beyond what is reasonable for one person to be gifted with, and I think he makes the whole process so fun and so easy, truly. And you could just use stash yarn. I mean, who amongst us doesn't have gobs and gobs of fingering weight yarn in our stash? So you could literally try, and you have nothing to lose, and I say go for it, okay? So when October rolls around, we're all gonna jump back on the MCAL wagon, and I'm so thrilled that this bad boy is done. I can't say enough good about it. I do actually really like this shape. It's very long. And what I like about it is I don't have any hand knit scarves. Y'all know I like to wear my shawls like this, and I think it looks incredible like this. Look at this. It's just so freaking cool. I kind of feel like a knitting superhero with these chevrons and these bold graphic details right here. I love it so much. But in the winter, I feel like it'll be very wearable as a scarf actually around the neck, which I think is fun, because a lot of other shawls that I have in my collection are not long and narrow. If you want more depth in the back, that optional last section definitely creates more depth, and it mirrors this section. So it's all super cohesive. It just gives you a little more depth if you want it. I definitely didn't feel like I needed it, and I definitely did not want to knit anymore on this. I was ready to call it quits. I do have to say one thing I should have showed you before we move on. I think that the curve of the very bottom is so beautiful, and again, another just so thoughtful detail that looks so clean and finished and is so easy. It's just that blue bit. It's hard. I need another arm, y'all. What I'm talking about is this blue I-cord after this last twisted rib section. I think it just gives such a clean and beautiful curve and line, and it's just, it was so satisfying to complete. And what was also nice is all the rest of it is already complete. So you don't have to do like 1,000 stitch I-cord border. All you're doing at the very end is binding off this last section. So once you finish those wings, I feel like it's smooth sailing, like many of you had said to me. But anyway, I know this is out of the consciousness of the knitting world, but I'm bringing it back because it's in my consciousness very much, and I love it. I love it so much. So that's that. It really was like reading a really long book that's really deep and satisfying, but takes commitment. That's what it was like. It's like a deep, satisfying knit that just makes you feel like you're very capable as a knitter. This coming year, I said last week, I would like to try to not lose steam like I did with this one. I really do think I was losing steam because of those mirrored sections. And I don't want to say made the mistake of setting it aside for months on end, but that's what happened. And it's fine. All's well that ends well. I finished it. But this coming time, I bet it'll be a very different structure than this one, because I haven't done a lot of MCALs because I just started knitting a couple years ago, but I would imagine he would kind of switch gears and do a different shape, a different style, maybe just a semicircular top-down shawl. So maybe I won't run into those same, speed bumps that I was running into with this one. So anyway, I'm going to say this and then I'll probably do the exact opposite, but I really want to make mine neutral this year. I said that last year and I ended up with this neon explosion, but I always do a neon explosion. So I really want to do, something a little more neutral just to mix it up. I know Bubble Girl Knits, I don't know your real name, but she is doing, going back and knitting all the MCALs, which I just think is so freaking brilliant. And I someday maybe will try to do that, but that takes a lot of stamina. But she's kind of like a superstar, and I think she might have extra arms to knit with, because I don't know, she just seems to knit prolifically, to say the least. Okay, moving on. I feel like it's been too long since I got to just go on and on about how much I love Stephen West. So we had to have our moment. It's been a couple of weeks. So now if you're new here, I am indeed a Stephen West super fan. Okay, moving on. Last week, I was also going on and on about another designer who I am newly in love with, that is Isabelle Kramer. And one of you was so kind and mentioned that she was interviewed on a podcast called Fruity Knitting. Is that right? I think it's called Fruity Knitting. I don't know why they're called that, but anyway, it matters not. But she was interviewed like 5 years ago. So last weekend, I think it was Sunday, it was the best day of my life because my husband went to golf. He tries to golf on Sunday mornings, and inevitably my children stay up later on Saturday night and sleep really late on Sunday morning, and I get this glorious morning time that it's probably the best time of my week, with a cup of coffee on that side of the couch, which is closer to the windows overlooking the outside. And it's like this last week was the best Sunday morning in recent memory, because I got to watch that Isabelle Kramer interview, and it was just absolutely a joy. Please go look it up. Just look up into YouTube, Fruity Knitting, Isabelle Kramer interview, and it came right up. And it's towards the end if you didn't want to watch the whole podcast, because it's pretty long. She's just so adorable, and I love her, and I love how different the European designers are in every way than us Americans. So I just got a lot of joy out of it. And she brought a lot of samples and showed and talked about her process, which I thought was so cool. And she used to be, her background is in garment design. I guess I didn't pay close enough attention, or that information has been displaced by my week. But anyway, I learned a lot about her, which I love. I love to kind of get to know the designers that I love. And one of the shawls she showed, it was like in the background, like draped over a chair. And the whole time I was just like, I need to know what pattern that is. And she finally does talk about it. It's the Bavaria shawl that she had designed for some publication. It wasn't just an independent self-published design. It was in a book or something, but now it's on Ravelry. Y'all, you know I'm newly in love with thicker weight shawls after I finished my golden hour shawl. I love thicker weight shawls. This is a worsted weight shawl and it has cables and baubles. It's an asymmetrical triangular shawl. It is beautiful. It is so on my list. I'm inserting pictures here so you can also just fall in love with this piece. However, again, I don't think pictures do it justice. I wouldn't have looked twice at the shawl unless I had seen it on that YouTube interview. And now I'm desperate to make it. So the list of desperate makes grows longer, but this is, I've shown you before many times. I have a ton of this yarn, sweaters or shawls quantity. It is the Julie Asselin Nurtured Base in the colorway Dew. And I just cannot get myself to commit to anything else with this yarn. And I decided this is a high possibility for me, Bavaria, with this shawl, because it would be such a good winter shawl. I don't know. I love it. She's incredible. My list of what I want to make of hers is just too long. I too need more arms. But anyway, there's also that slip stitch party shawl. I just saw she posted about it on Instagram today. It's not a new pattern, but every time she posts anything like highlighting one of her patterns, I end up wanting to make it. Anyway, so thank you. I cannot remember. I'm sorry. I wish I had written down who had suggested watching that interview, but it made my whole day that day. So that is that. Oh no, I forgot to bring over my next item. If I run off and go get it, will you be super mad? Okay, I'll be right back. Hold on. Okay, that did not take long. I apologize. This is how we do sometimes. I have a crazy busy week. I don't usually tape on Wednesdays. It is Wednesday, August 2nd. My parents are coming to visit tomorrow, and I have this rare moment of quiet in my house, and I was like, I'm either not going to be able to tape for a week and a half, or I have to tape now. So apologies if we're more chaotic and a little distracted, but I got a lot to get done. But there's nothing more important to me than hanging out with you guys regularly, so I didn't want to not tape. Anyway, back to knitting. This, my friends, is the Spring League pullover by Alexandra Tavel of Two of Wands Knits. We talked about it a lot last week because I am knitting it with Noro, and I forgot what this base is called, and I don't know what this color is called. I said that last week, but I do love this color. I think it looks even prettier on screen in this light, the way the light is hitting it, because you can really see how much yellow undertone there is in it. But I was bemoaning the fact that I was getting some funky texture in right at the top. You can see it. The light again is making it stand out, that little stripe. And I was going on, and it was funny because last week, there's something about seeing in the screen rather than in real life that makes things look a little bit different than they do in real life. So as I was holding it up and talking about it, my brain, it was like, I'm sure you guys have experienced this many times in your own lives, where it's like your brain splits and your words are coming out of your mouth, but then there's this whole other stream of consciousness in your mind. And I hate when that happens because it makes you feel pretty split and distracted. And that's exactly what was happening. It was like I was talking and I was looking at it and thinking to myself, how can you be even showing this garment? It looks so awful. Like all these things were going on in my mind, this horrible internal dialogue, but other words were coming out. And so it felt very disjointed. So I wanted to tell you that because that's what was happening in my mind. I was thinking that I was just horrified that I was showing this, it was just looked so ugly. And even now, I think it looks pretty not great, but I think once it's blocked and in real life, not on this screen, it actually looks very pretty. This is a garment knit and fully in stockinette, which I love, but stockinette highlights, in my opinion, texture and like variations in the color, so you can really see tonal variations here in the knit up garment, like versus in the ball, it looks much more solid here, whereas here you just really see the tonal variations. I appreciated deeply all of your comments and thoughts, because I really felt so much better after I read a bunch of them, that you were all like, no, keep it. It's just, one of you summed it up perfectly. You said, let Noro be Noro. And I was like, yes, again, it is leaning into what things are, all imperfections included, rather than like trying to game it to make it perfect. And I really think in this world of filters and procedures and all sorts of things that we can do to ourselves digitally and physically in real life, we've almost lost that the perfection of something includes its imperfections. And I think it's really, really important that we keep coming back to that, so that everyone around us feels permission to be their perfectly imperfect selves, in their makes, in their personality, in their appearance, in their parenting, in their companionship, in everything. Nothing is perfect, and let's just embrace that. So, embracing it, I am, and I'm very happy to say I seamed up the sides, and I really, really have to say I was surprised, because I had been kind of dreading the seaming process, just because it's one of those things that takes you out of the knitting process that's so soothing. And for someone like me, who's just like a self-soothing junkie, I don't like being taken out of the knitting to do something like seaming. I like to seam standing up. A lot of things I do like that, I do standing up. I have kitchen counters, like island kitchen counters, that are higher than like a normal table. So they're perfect for me standing up. I just feel like I can get a little more perspective when I'm looking down on my knitting than I am when I'm sitting down. So I like to seam standing up, or pick up stitches. A lot of times I'll do it standing up, which sometimes, like I was saying last week, it's so long and exhausting. But I feel like it came out so pretty. There's something really fun about mattress stitch. It's just a fun, like, geometrical thing. And then when you get to pull it and see that seam disappear and pull the fabric together, it's just really satisfying. I really enjoyed it, and I loved being able to put the garment on and make sure the armpit was exactly to the millimeter seamed up to where I wanted it to be, and make sure they were both the same. And I really enjoyed that process. Is it more, is it simplified to knit in the round? Yes. But I can't recall if I've knit a garment flat like this. I really enjoyed it. I made the ribbing in the front slightly shorter than the ribbing in the back, and then you get to do this split hem if you want. You could always just seam it up all the way, but I like the way that looks. So I did the hem just a little bit longer in the back than in the front. Once this blocks out and relaxes, I think it's gonna be so, so cute. I've picked up for the hood, which is really fun. I've never made a hood. There's just a little shaping, and then now for 10.5 inches, you just get a knit stockinette back and forth mindlessly. And then I think there's some connection that happens. Then we make the drawstring. The drawstring, that was the word that was just so inaccessible to me last week. I think it's because my mind was in this like split mode where I had this external dialogue and an internal dialogue. My words were particularly getting lost, but I imagine I will just pull a drawstring out of one of my old hoodies and use that. I don't think I'm just going to sit here and make an I-cord drawstring of my own because I don't want to. Anyway, so that is that. Thank you again for your input on the Noro yarn. I couldn't agree more. I think in other Noro yarns that have a lot of color variations or speckles or whatever you want to call it, some of the texture is not as obvious because there's also color changes. But because this is only a tonal variation, I think the textural bits of the yarn stand out even more. But again, think about right here, there's going to be a drawstring that lays down here anyway. So I think it's going to break up how obvious that bit looks. So that is that. I have not much to say about this. I am ready to be done with it. I would be lying if I said I loved alternating full purl rows with knit rows. Purling is never probably going to be as second nature to me as knitting is, but that's okay. I know some of you, that's probably not true, and every knitter is different. I also think English style purling is different than continental style purling. And I do think as I knit more and purl more, I hope purling becomes as second nature as knitting. But anyway, that is that. I do not think I have anything else to say. I don't think I said last time, I talked about the gauge issue that I had to drop 2 needle sizes to get gauge, but I also cast on the extra small because there was a lot of positive ease. And I have found, Andrea Maury always says, you know, if you want to know the perfect amount of ease for you, measure a finished garment, whether it's something you've knit in the past or a ready to wear garment. Just measure the chest or the bust of that perfect garment, and then you'll know like your perfect measurements. I think I always overestimated how much positive ease. I've realized like 37 to 40 inches gives me a nice loose, but not too crazy loose amount of positive ease where I like it. I don't feel like I'm in sausage casing, and I also don't feel like I'm just swimming in the garment. So I cast on the extra small. I don't remember exactly what that's supposed to give me, but when I tried it on, it's just absolutely perfect. And again, once it gets wet blocked and dried, it'll just relax as yarn does and be magical. I wish I could say I'm gonna finish this soon. However, the next project we're gonna talk about has captured my knitting heart, so I haven't been working on this as much as I want to. That happens to me where I've got 2 projects. I always at least have 2 projects. Right now, shockingly, I only have 2 projects because I won't cast anything else on until I finish this. One of those projects is like all I want to work on, and the other one is kind of less than that. I will set a timer for like 20 minutes and make myself pick this up and knit on it. And that makes it sound like a chore, but it's really not. It's just an easy way to trick myself into doing a little bit that I know I'm going to enjoy when I just kind of can't get myself to do it. It's the same as like if I don't feel like working out, I'll say to myself, all you have to do is 20 minutes, and inevitably I end up working out for way longer than that. But sometimes the hardest part is just getting yourself to do something. And again, it's like that inertia thing, right? It's hard to get that initiation energy to do the thing, but once you're in it, you're like, why was I even having to push for this? Anyway, that is that. The Spring League Pullover by Alexandra Tavel. I don't know if that's how you say it, but that is how I'm going to say it because I don't know what else to say. Okay, so the project that is keeping me just obsessed is, unsurprisingly, if you watched last week, the half and half triangles wrap. My yarn shipment finally came on Monday evening. No, it was 2:10, I recall, because I was really tired that day. We had all this stupid car drama that is too boring to recount here right now, but that drama had made for a really late night, and I hadn't slept well and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I was very excited when the shipment finally arrived because I'd been constantly pressing refresh. And then finally when I pressed refresh and I was like, your shipment has been delivered. And I like jumped like up like a crazy person and ran out and grabbed the Pearl Soho shipment. And I was so freaking excited. So I had told you guys last time that my daughter picked the colors Pink Pop and Bird's Egg Blue for her half and half that I'm making for her. And I didn't tell you that I thought it was very sweet. My son had bought her a bracelet that she loves and she wears every day. He had picked it out for her, and it was this lightest shade of blue with neon pink. That's what the bracelet is. And she loves it so much, and she loves him so much that she decided on the half and half that matched that. And I thought that was so sweet and made my mother's heart swell with happiness. And I was telling you guys that I wasn't sure. I had an old skein, well, half an old skein of pink, or a bright pink yarn from a linen quill. Sorry. I had a linen quill in my stash that was bright pink, but it didn't quite look exactly like the screen version of Pink Pop. So I was hesitant to cast on. Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. I was hesitant to cast on with the half skein I had in case they had changed the dye a little bit or it wasn't that color. So I waited, but sure enough, it was. So I didn't even bother winding these skeins into balls because I had that skein wound up. So I cast on. But before I show you the project as it is, these are the colors she picked. I hope the lighting is good enough for you to accurately see these. This is Bird's Egg Blue, obviously, and this is Pink Pop. These are just so gorgeous together, if you ask me. It just screams 9-year-old girl, but she's not like a super girly girl. I think anybody would love these colors. It's just so, so, so pretty. I'll bring you in a little closer. If you don't know, I've always, ever since I started knitting with linen quill, loved it. It is 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, and 15% linen. I think each of those components and percentages specifically makes this yarn the special skein that it is. I think the wool, that percentage provides glorious structure to this yarn. The alpaca provides this softness that only alpaca can. And then the linen provides texture that only linen can. And I think that particular combination is just, it's magic. And I think there's a reason people are obsessed with it. Maybe you're not obsessed with it. I can see someone finding it a slight bit itchy. I said last week, I've had moments where I put on a sweater with it that I've made with linen quill on and it feels itchy, but within 5 minutes that itch is gone. So I don't find it itchy. I find it to be a very unique fingering weight yarn in that it has a structure and not so drapey that it's just like silky almost. I think there's a place for that. I think there's also sometimes where you don't want that. And I think what makes this half and half wrap super special is that the linen quill gives it a structure and combined with a drapiness, if that makes any sense. But anyway, I think in the darker colors, you can definitely see more of the linen bits that make it so magical. And as you knit up, I think it gives you the same feeling as when you're knitting with a speckled yarn and you're watching it unfold and it's so unique. I think that's what I feel like whenever I am knitting with linen quill also. So enough waffling on. I will show you my work in progress. It is right now a long, narrow strip. I am making the bigger size because I want it to double as a blanket and not just be a shawl. I want it to be, you know, really a huge, timeless blanket piece that my daughter will have forever. It is super easy. You just cast on 260 stitches, and then you work short rows from the jump. I switched to German short rows rather than wrap and turns because I prefer them, and it's just a little less persnickety for me. I also am slipping the last stitch to make a nice smooth border. These are not earth-shattering changes. Like, I would say half the people that did it used these changes. There are a million tutorials on how to make those changes. It is nothing complicated. This project has been exactly what I wanted in my life right now. I cannot believe it took me this long to think I needed to cast one of these on, just because now as I'm working on it, it's so me. I am in constant need of self-soothing. I don't know, maybe we all are, but I'm only me, so I can't tell if everybody's like this, but I feel like my wheels are turning a lot. I don't think I'm an anxious person, but I'm definitely a very thoughtful person. I think about everything a lot, especially when it comes to my parenting. I'm constantly contemplating the right course of action, the right thing I should say, the right thing I should do when it comes to my children. And my son is 14, as many of you know, and I think it's a particularly challenging time that I choose to be very thoughtful in everything because I just don't want to drop a ball. I don't want to accidentally do something that will impact him a lot. So anyway, that is neither here nor there. The point is, a lot of times I think very well when I'm knitting because it gives me something to do that's just mindless enough to calm my mind down that I can kind of think. And this project is just, there's no thinking involved. You just know exactly what you're doing, and there's just something really, really nice about this project. I think that is why there are tens of thousands of people who have made these, and probably thousands more that haven't posted them on Ravelry. Anyway, I love how this fabric is turning out. I cannot say if I would find this as pleasurable in a different yarn. Like, I'm sure tons of you have made it in a different yarn, especially outside of the United States. Just like I don't want to pay for shipping from Stephen and Penelope, I'm sure a lot of you don't want to pay for shipping from Pearl Soho. So I'm sure there are great alternatives out there. I know Holst Super Soft is one a lot of people have used. I would just say my 2 cents is that maybe steer clear of superwash yarns for this because they are so slippery and drapey. I think that the yarn I used, High Country wool in their flock base, I used it for the Painting Bricks shawl, is the outside frame color, that natural color. That would be a great yarn to use. The only thing I would say is this is a lot better priced than that. Like, that's $33 a skein. This is linen quill. Right now, I think it's on sale for 21% off, and that's like $16 for 100 grams. And that's a lot of yarn for the money. So not a lot of money, it's just a really good deal. So anyway, I am making this one. I can't stop knitting on it. I have had kind of a stressful week. So again, I just keep coming back to it. And then it's also new on my needles. The first triangle you knit, the rows are getting shorter and shorter. And I think the second one, the rows go from short to long. So I can definitely see how the end might become a slog. I'm hoping to avoid that by not rushing and just taking it just in the chunks that feel good to me and not trying to push through it quickly. I've also heard, I think one of you in the comments said, start with your least favorite color and save the color you're most looking forward to using for the second one. And I've had this pink pop for a while, so it's not that it's not my favorite color, it's just I think I'll be really excited to get to this color, this beautiful bird's egg blue. I'm trying to, yes, bird's egg blue. There's a robin's blue or robin egg blue also, and I keep mixing those up. And if you watched my pod last week, you know I also ordered enough to make one for myself, hoping that I would enjoy the process because I thought I would, and indeed I am. But if that changes, I know I'll use this linen quill since I love it so much for something else. This is dark denim that I picked for myself to knit up with fresh nutmeg, and I wanted a deep neutral combo. This is one of my favorite colors. I have a ton of it still left, so I might not even need to buy more. I just don't know yet. And then this I thought was another neutral that would be very wearable and easy for me to grab. And I don't have anything like this, and I just love how authentically denim it looks. The linen bits really gives it that denim washed, like stone washed look that I really love. I think these dark colors show off that linen because the linen doesn't pick up the dye the way the wool and alpaca do. It just gives it such a rustic look that I just love. I'll also mention it's a 2-ply yarn, and I think that also contributes to how beautiful of a yarn it is. So those are the colors. I also can't help but see this color combination as another fabulous one. I mean, come on. That is so pretty, you guys. It's like fun party time with like a really grounded denim color. I also think this would be a classic, very Dallas Cowboys vibe. This is reed gray. Let me confirm. Yes, this is reed gray. I had 3 skeins of this. I had bought it last holiday season when they were having a sale to make the pressed flowers cardigan, but I never cast it on. And I'll tell you why I never cast it on. Not because I still don't want to. One of you had said you had this on your needles, and I'm dying after you reminded me how much I wanted this. I was going to buy Spin Cycle to make the pressed flowers cardigan, and then at the same time, I had finished my Trinigan that I'd used Spin Cycle for the first time and realized I don't like it. Sorry if you love it, but I just personally do not like the way Spin Cycle feels knit up. It's just too cottony feeling for me, and it's not cotton, and it's not priced like cotton, so I just didn't see the sense in it. But once I lost that plan, I couldn't figure out what other yarn I wanted to use. I know I have plenty I could use from my stash, so I kind of need to just figure that out. But that being said, I think this would be a beautiful combination. I also have this in my stash, and I think this is dark iris, and I think this is so pretty. Like, this would be really pretty. This would be very Texas A&M Aggies. This even would be a very moody, deep color combo. So many, there's just like nothing you can do wrong, truly. Like, this would be incredible. The bird's egg blue with dark iris. There's just infinite color combinations. And I'm telling you, the minute you start down this road, you can't stop. This is why people have 6 of these. Number one, I do think they'd make great gifts for loved ones. I think it's really fun to kind of think of your loved ones and think of like what color combo they would be. Like my beloved niece, who I just adore, she's 11. Her birthday's in February, and I was like, ooh, it'd be amazing to make her one and come up with like a color combo that would suit her, to kind of capture someone's personality that you love in a color combo. I think that's kind of part of the magic of this project, why it's so addictive is that. One of the color combos that Stacy from Stress Knits Yarn was talking about that I am like, oh my God, I need to make that is peony pink with super orange. I think both of those colors are stunning and could go with 1,000 other colors, but together they strike that pastel neon combo that I love so much, which is exactly this. So super orange with peony pink is like mega on my radar. I think my niece, that would like really capture her because she's girly, but also a fireball. I think it would be perfect. Also, I think I mentioned this last week, but golden green and lavender opal. Oh my God. That honestly would have been the one I cast on if I weren't trying to finish up this fresh nutmeg. I love that golden green color so much. It's almost sort of similar to this. It's just so pretty and I love it. And that's on my radar for the future too. So I hope I enjoy this, every stitch of it. I imagine I'm gonna go through this first triangle pretty quickly. We are going to the mountains next week. My husband was supposed to go to trial. He is an attorney. He was supposed to go to trial and be out of town for a month. And we didn't even know the last time he had to go to trial, he was literally gone for 3 weeks and we didn't get to see him at all. It was awful. It was so awful. I hated every second of it. I also, the three of us, my son, my daughter, and myself got the flu. And then 3 weeks later, we all got COVID. So it was a particularly awful time. And then he got back right when I had gotten COVID. And then he proceeded to get COVID. So, and was super sick for 2 weeks. So it was like, he was basically just sleeping in the guest room like a non-entity. Better times of my life I can think of quickly. It was horrible. That was last summer. I don't ever want to relive that awful time, but reliving it by just telling you the quick story is bringing upon panic. But my point being is he actually is not going to trial. The trial was pushed for reasons beyond our control. I am in mixed emotions about that because it's like we live to die another day because he's going to have to do it at some point. But I'm thrilled that it's not now. And all that being said, he's been working so hard to get ready for trial. And he gets to kind of just take a little bit of a breath because the trial is not right now. So just like a tiny bit, he still works nonstop and works so much. But he decided, let's go to the mountains for a week right before school starts because just it's our last moment of summer vacation to be together and enjoy the mountains, which we haven't gotten to do at all this summer. My kids have because they were in summer camp up there in Keystone, but we are going to go to Breckenridge. Breckenridge is like our family happy place. The first time we went there as a family, my son was 2. And it was just the 3 of us because my daughter was still, a twinkle in the sky. And we still lived in Texas. We were moving from Houston to Dallas. So we were in between places and we decided rather than getting a place in Dallas right away, why don't we spend the entire summer in Breckenridge? And it was kind of the first tiptoe step into moving to Colorado. It was those 2 months planted the seed of coming back to Colorado every summer. And then that segued into absolute a deep, dark depression every time we'd have to go from Colorado back to Dallas, which finally led to me saying either we have to move here or we can't do this anymore. Like I can't just spend 2 months in Colorado and then go back and spend 10 months in Dallas. I can't do it anymore. Like it's going to kill my soul because it's like feeling like you are where you're supposed to be and then going back to living where you're not supposed to be. And so finally I just was like, why don't we move to Boulder? And my husband was like, but you've never been to Boulder. And I said, then let's go to Boulder. And then within like 3 weeks we had decided, and I had dragged him along on my my scheme to move here, and we did. And it's the best thing that really ever happened to us because I love this place so much. It feels like home through and through. And I'm very grateful that it all worked out, that the universe kind of pushed us along. And at every turn, it was kind of like everything worked out when it very well couldn't have worked out. It wasn't a given at all. So I did not mean to share that story with you, but it just kind of came out as part of what I'm telling you right now. So I am very excited to go to Breckenridge next week. It is a very special place in my heart. I love every mountain town in Colorado that I've ever been to. They are all magical in their own way, but Breckenridge is special for the reason that it was the first. You know what I mean? I know you know what I mean. So I'm so excited to go to Breck, and I'm going to take my half and half triangles wrap and get to sit outside on the patio and just knit to my heart's content, and it'll be perfect. I'm sure I'll also take my Spring League hoodie, but I feel like I'm going to make a lot of progress on this one. It's like perfect vacation knitting. Now that I have it, I get why you guys were always recommending. Many of you recommended this as vacation knitting, and I never quite understood it. Also, I'm sitting here looking at this and I have to share. Ooh, sorry, I gave you a little wibble wobble. Look how good these would be good together. Oh my gosh, look at that. Dark iris with fresh nutmeg is breathtaking. Somebody do this. Someone do this combo. You're so welcome. All this linen quill is just making me so happy. I swear I could buy, you know what? I knocked y'all off center, didn't I? I don't know why I'm messing with this now because it's just going to mess everything up. I need a new tripod, okay? I bought this guy without knowing anything about podcasting, and I really could use a new tripod, but it's not your problem, is it? Oh my gosh, as usual, I can go on, and I have gone on and on. It's 55 minutes, and I haven't even talked about non-yarn stuff. So that is all the yarn content I have for you. If you would like to split now, bye-bye, off you go. I'm going to talk a little bit about life. The last time I talked to you guys, I was swimming in motherly overwhelm, hating my summer life. Honestly, I made it longer than I thought I would, especially considering my concussion and my accident and all that. But last week I was just like, I had hit that wall of somebody, take the wheel because I'm going to crash this into a wall. It was just, I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take the people being in my house 24/7 anymore. And just in time, my kids are both in. My son is co-coaching a basketball camp, and my daughter's taking that basketball camp. And my husband had to go to Texas for a deposition. And I love him and miss him, and I love and adore my children. I think that goes without saying if you have watched this podcast before. My son rises and sets on my family and Stephen West, and I love them. However, when we moved to Boulder, my husband went from working in an office. He has his own firm, his own law firm. He went from working in an office we moved May 2020, so high pandemic times. So when we moved here, he ended up not renting office space, but just working from home. And the pandemic kind of just went on, and he just got used to working from home. And there was so much good about working from home. So much good. Like, absolutely, like one of the things that we both appreciate so much about him working from home is that every single day we walk our dogs together for 2.5 to 3 miles, and it's our time to just talk and be together and be outside. And no matter how busy or stressed he is, it's so important he gets that time to step away from work and be outside in nature. And the great thing about Colorado is even if you're just walking through your neighborhood, you have the most beautiful landscape in the world. It's towering pines and spruces and mountains in the background, and we're so freaking lucky. it's not lost on me ever. Not one time do I not walk and think, I am so lucky. But because he is working from home, we get that time. However, the flip side of that is I never get that time where I'm alone, and I'm someone who really needs that time. And it took a toll. It definitely did. Like, there are times I am far grumpier than I want to be because I just haven't had that solitude to fill my own bucket. And these last few days when he's out of town and they're at camp, I just feel like this exhale that I just feel like my entire personality like settling down. It's like when the ocean is calm, that's how I feel. Like there's still movement, but it's not like roiling. My mind is calm, and it's been such a spectacular reset for me. I just feel so much better. Like I have so much more to give. I have so much more patience. I have so much more appreciation rather than just constantly feeling like go away to everybody. I feel like, oh, I love you so much. I'm so grateful for you in my life. So I know in my stage of life, it's hard to manufacture those moments if they're not there. I did not manufacture this moment. It just kind of happened. But I am in deep appreciation. And if you are in need of that, if you are in the middle of summer vacation and you have small kids, I hope so deeply for you that you find some space and time for that, because it's just so important. When you're a caregiver, it's so hard to get what you need to reset yourself. And maybe this is permission for you to kind of try to manufacture that. Like, we don't have family in town to help, but maybe you do. And maybe you can say, hey, mom or dad, or mother-in-law or father-in-law, or sister or brother, could you take these kids for a while and tell your spouse or your partner, hey, I could really use a day off. Like, it's not because you don't love them. It's because you love them so much that you want to give them your best self. Anyway, so that is where I am, as opposed to last week where I was drowning. This week, I feel like I am just really doing well. My parents are coming to visit tomorrow. That is why I am taping this episode today, because I know I won't have time to tape one this weekend. So when you're seeing this episode, it'll be several days after I tape it, and that's okay. And then next week, I am off to Breckenridge with my family, and I'm very excited about that. I don't know if I'm going to tape. I have a couple of ideas. I don't know which one's going to happen. So you might get an episode or you might have a week off. And for that, I apologize. However, when we get back, school goes straight into session. I cannot believe summer vacation will be over. It really went by very fast for me. I don't know about you guys. I know different places in the world have different end points, but my kids go back August 15th. It's bittersweet. I'm excited for them. I'm excited for me. I can't wait to get back to teaching fitness, which is something I love and took the summer off of because I wouldn't be able to manage with the kids around. I'm a little nervous given I had a physical setback and I've had to kind of rebuild my fitness. I'm a little nervous to go back to teaching because it is really rigorous physically for me. But I trust myself. I've been working hard at rebuilding slowly but consistently, and I can't wait to be back in studio with students I adore, and that energy of working really hard physically with other people. There's nothing else that comes close to that. It's a very different space. Okay, you guys, I'm going to force myself to stop because I am starving right now. Like, my stomach is growling and hurting, and I need to go eat. Ever since my concussion, I don't like getting too hungry. It makes me feel lightheaded, and it's just not good stuff. So I have yammered enough today. I will leave you here, and I will see you again very soon, hopefully next week. If not, thank you for your patience. I will be back in 2, and I hope wherever you are well, you are knitting a ton, and you are taking care of yourself in every way. You are amazing. I adore you, and I'm very grateful for you, and I will see you again soon. Bye.